If someone's not man enough to tell you, then like that's your answer, you know? Take that and be like, okay, I'm not investing myself in this anymore. Welcome to the new episode of I Got You Girl. I am so excited because this episode is super special for many reasons. Number one, we're talking about a really fun and relatable topic. But number two, I'm having my best friend come on and share the stage with me today, because who better to do a topic about relationships and breakups and dating than your best friend who's been with you through it all. So Taylor is here and it's her first time, I think, speaking on a podcast, right? Is it?
Yeah.
I'm super excited. So it's basically going to be like you guys get to listen into a conversation we would have on the phone, which is going to be pretty interesting for you guys. So hope you're excited. And
Good luck.
I'll let her introduce herself a little bit. And yeah, we can kind of share, I guess, a little bit of like how we met and how we are best friends. So we met in college 5 years ago, and the rest is history. We've been through plenty of breakups and relationships and all the things.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, we met freshman year, just kind of became like fast friends, and it's been awesome. It's been crazy.
I took a bunch of topics that you guys gave in the different polls that I did on Instagram, and I kind of tried to break the topics up into what was relevant and what was similar so that I could have some sort of organization. But it's kind of just going to be like a conversation. A lot of the topics that you guys gave were all similar, which is really crazy because it just goes along with the whole point of, you know, the content that I like to share. Is I feel like so many of us deal with so many of the same things, even in our own lives, in our own ways. So I hope that by listening to this and hearing some of our advice, hopefully it's all good.
I'm going to say by no means am I an expert, but I've been through enough where I think I can give some somewhat sane advice. We'll see.
I hope so. So we cannot sit and have a glass of wine with you, but we can try to give you advice. That's fine.
Exactly.
Okay, starting with this one question. It says, guys using you for physical things and not getting to know you, and how to prevent that and how to kind of recognize that. And I feel like that's so common, you know, in so many relationships we've both been in through college.
Yeah.
And just with so many girls, like our friends and things like that, you know, you get to know someone and you think, oh my gosh, like you're playing your marriage and like the proposal in your head, and they're just like, okay, I'm so taking this girl home. Like this is happening. Are there any ways to see red flags?
Let's see. Okay. I guess with that, just like feeling out like a guy's like intentions, I think number one, I would think about when the times are that he contacts you. Is it normally like when he's drunk downtown? Is it always after 6 p.m.? Like that kind of stuff. Like if that's the case, like that should be a red flag right there that I'd look out for. I don't know. I think just you got to keep your guard up at first. Don't like show all your cards like from the beginning, I guess. Take things at face value. Don't romanticize things in your head, because that's when you'll get like way ahead of yourself. People will take advantage of that. If they see that like you're very open and you're very trusting and all that, they will take advantage of that. Like, unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is with some guys. Those are like ill intentions at least. But yeah, I think just read the signs and take things at face value for one.
Yeah, I feel like that's so funny that you say that, because so often in the past, I've been the one that like romanticizes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're in love. And you're like, no.
I'm like, wait.
It is so true.
What's his name?
I know, seriously. It is so true though. You know, when a person contacts you and, you know, the manner in which they contact you, are they asking you to come over and hang out and like watch a movie? Or are they taking you, you know, it doesn't have to be this grand gesture. It doesn't have to be this fancy dinner date or anything like that. But I do think that's a really good point of when is someone contacting you, and what are your conversations like? And are you only seeing them after hours and when you're out at a bar or anything like that? Where are you meeting this person too? I think that's a big thing of it too.
Yeah.
I don't think you can prevent being used in all the time, because sometimes it is the truth that, you know, a guy knows kind of how to get in your head and make you feel like you are, you know, getting this, maybe not a relationship right off the bat, but this like romantic side of him, or, you know, this sweet side or whatever. But in reality, it's like he knows what he's after and you're totally falling into it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think too, like if it does end up that it's something where like you do think you got used in the end, like, also just don't be so hard on yourself. It's not really a huge flaw to be super trusting of someone. Like, that's just a character trait that some people have, and like that shouldn't be a bad thing. But like I said, like some people just take advantage of that. So don't be hard on yourself. But I think overall just learn from the lessons of the past too, because like if you see this as a common thing that you're keep getting like taken advantage of or things like that, you really need to sit back and look at the people you're talking to, like you said, like where you're meeting them, and then just learn from your past mistakes, and maybe, like I said, keep your guard up at first, kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That kind of leads into another question that you sent in. It says guys using you to get what they want, and then when you like them, it falls apart, and how to prevent that and read the signs. I feel like that's kind of the same question, but I like how you said, you know, giving your heart and letting your guard down is not a bad character trait to have, because I feel like we're both, you know, very trusting. But I also feel like that's another reason we've both had our hearts broken in the past. And, you know, you want to take things at face value, and we're very realistic. But I still think, you know, there are those times, like I said, where it's portrayed to you as if you're getting this sweet side and he's like pursuing you and he wants all the, I mean, I'm pretty sure I was in like basically a fake relationship for 6 months straight. Like it was literally, no, I'm not kidding. Like seriously. And like this question is sad. This question is sad, and you're not alone, because this literally happened to me. And I don't ever really talk about relationships on my Instagram. It's like, you know, motivation and health and fitness and whatever. But, you know, I always say that I don't want people looking at my page and be like, oh, I want to be like that. Like she has it together. Like, no, literally I was in a fake relationship, seriously, like 6 months. Literally led
I love
into
how
this,
you say fake.
no, seriously, it was. It totally was. Led into this, you know, fairy tale land. I literally met his family. Like it was perfect. This happened to me twice, actually, I think. Literally, now that I'm like describing it, I'm like, no, it happened 2 times, Lena. It was twice. Literally, like everything was perfect on the surface, but then, you know, when it was all said and done, it was like it meant nothing, and it was like you got what you wanted and whatever that was, you know, and then it's like it's over. And same for you. Like, you know, and so I do feel like, you know, that you're not the only person that's dealt with this, and it happens to the best of us. Like, so you can't control other people.
No, you really can't. And that's one of the things, like, I do think, especially when it comes to, like, I'm more hard on the guys that you date than the ones that I date. And, like, that guy completely had me fooled, all of us fooled. And it was, like, that blew my mind. So, first of all, like, I think personally, like, I'm a lot harder on the guys that you date than the guys that I date, because I just, like, and also you can see it from an outside perspective, like, you're not, like, all caught up in the feelings. Like, so we're hard on each other's guys a lot more than our own. It's also one thing I think is super important is you've got to look out for, like, actions speak louder than words. And I know that's easier said than done, and words do mean a lot too, but actions mean so much more in the end, because a guy can be like, I want to take you to dinner. I want to do this for you. I want to do that. Is he doing it? How long has he said he's going to take you to dinner? Did he do it? Like, no.
Were you in a national pandemic? No, you weren't yet.
Yeah, I guess now they can say, like, I want to take you to dinner. And
exactly.
Yeah, it's a little easier to get away with that. But yeah, just look at, like, if he's following through with the things he says, because, like, words do mean a lot, but is there that follow through? And if not, like, take note of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And you said about how when you're looking at an outside perspective, and I think that's so true, that we are harder on the person, you know, that our friends date, or, you know, another person that they're dating, because you get a different view of that. And I remember, you know, we've had this conversation in real life when we've both gone through breakups. And sometimes it's so hard because you're looking at the way someone you love and care about is getting treated, and you're able to see, oh my God, is she kidding? Like, he sucks. Like, you know, this is not okay. But when you're in that relationship, whether it's me or whether it's been you, you know, you get those, you know, altered perspectives of this person. And when you have feelings for somebody and you really like them and you really care about them, plus you really want this relationship or whatever it is to work, you know, you're able to kind of justify and make excuses when their actions are not lining up with what they're saying. And I know that, you know, that's so easy to believe whatever someone is saying when you want to believe it.
Yeah, it's so much easier to make excuses for people when you're in it. So it's like, you got to sit back and be like, okay, if someone was doing this to, like, one of my friends, what would my reaction be? And, like, if I didn't know, like, all the other stuff, because sometimes you just get caught up in, like, the good times. And that's kind of like, even in the breakups, like you think about, oh my God, the good times, but like you have to remember like it ended for a reason and like hold on to that. So yeah, there were those good times and appreciate that, but remember there's a reason why it all ended.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think too, something I've gotten better about over the past few years, and clearly like it didn't always work out for me, but asking someone, I don't think that there's any harm of asking someone's intentions. Like if you feel like you're deep enough into a relationship or a situation with another person, if you have been, seeing this person just one-on-one, hanging out, doing whatever you're doing, maybe you've gone, to dinner, or maybe I don't know whatever you've done with this person. If you've hung out enough times and you're texting daily or whatever it is, I don't think there's a problem or any awkwardness in asking in like a casual way, like, what are your intentions with this? Like, are you dating other people? Are you, what are we doing here? Because your time is valuable. Like, you're not only wasting your emotional energy wondering all the time, well, what are we? And, trying to go through, well, he said this, and like, then, always wondering and stressing yourself out when you could literally ask a question. What are your intentions? Or, whatever. It doesn't have to be this huge conversation either. It can be really casual and worked in. But if someone's not like grown enough and mature enough to give you an answer, either say, I'm not looking for a relationship right now. Well, then why are we spending all this one-on-one time together? And I'm like emotionally validating you every day.
Yeah, right.
Like if someone's not man enough to tell you, then like that's your answer, take that and be like, okay, I'm not investing myself in this anymore.
Yeah. And also I think it's very smart to go into these situations like telling them what your intentions are from the beginning. Because I've had so many, like some guys that I've like dated, and I use dated like very loosely in this like situation.
Yeah.
But there's been some guys where it was just like, hey, like I'm going to tell you right now, like I enjoy hanging out with you. This is great. But like, I'm not looking for a boyfriend right now. Like we can continue hanging out, but that kind of thing. But like, just know, like, if that's what you want, you aren't going to get that from me. And like, to this day, I'm still friends with that guy, and like everything was great. And like, so it avoids a lot of those gray areas and uncertainty if you're just like straight up and honest from the beginning to like, just tell them like, these are my intentions. And then, like you said, like it's later, if you don't have that conversation initially, it's okay to have it later on and just be like, look, this is how I feel. Like, where do you see this going or not going, or that kind of thing. I don't think there's any issue with that.
Yeah. I think that that's so true. I think that's kind of the only way. I mean, you can say, I'm reading the signs and whatever, but like, there's nothing better than just saying straight up, what are your intentions? Like, can we have a conversation? And I don't think that there's any kind of, problem with that at all. Going back to the original question of guys using you for physical things, I don't exactly know what that meant, but I think we all can kind of understand. I think that having a conversation, if that's, a sensitive subject for you, or, you're not wanting to move into that part of your relationship, before that, have that conversation first, like you're not under any pressure. I think so often we put ourselves under this pressure of like, we're expected to like, just go with the flow and not ask any questions and just like whatever he wants to do. And like, oh, well, he only contacts me, like every night after he's drunk, or like whatever. And like, we're just expected to just, no, like respect yourself. And you need to have that, self-confidence to be like, I know what I bring to the table. And I'm not scared to ask you what we're doing here because I respect myself, don't get caught in like, I like him so much. He's so great, because I promise you, sometimes you step back from a situation and you're like, was I joking?
Yeah, exactly. Along with physical things, it's kind of like, this may come across as harsh. If there's no like verbal, like if you didn't like define what it is or anything like that, honestly, that person like owes you nothing. Like just because, and some people do take advantage of that, but it's like, they owe you nothing, and honestly you owe them nothing. So it's one of those things where you just like have to have that conversation and define what it is. And also like, if there's a guy that maybe it's like on and off kind of thing, I'm sorry, but the physical stuff, it's not gonna like make him like lock in. If you're like trying to lock this guy in and he hasn't committed, that's not going to make him commit. So just know, like, going into that, if there's no like commitment there, that's not going to be the magic thing that makes it happen. Like you just have to be kind of aware of that. So just know what you're getting into, kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a really good point. I think that can kind of like go into another topic that I didn't really even have on here, but that is so important. I wish I could go back to the girl that I was. And so honestly, like not my last breakup, because I was kind of like, whatever, get out of my face. But like with my breakup before, like last year, I remember, and I'm like a very confident person, or I like to believe that I am, and like very sure of myself, and like I know what I bring to the table. And like honestly, I do a lot in my relationships. Like, and you're the same way. Like we bring a lot to the table, not even just like, you know, anything like with your looks or anything, but just like your heart, you know, like we both do that. And like we love people really strongly. And I think, you know, I remember, you know, being this girl that went into this relationship, and when things were good, it was, you know, it was a great, you know, it was great, whatever. But I remember when it started breaking down, it was kind of like, well, what can I do to like fix him? What can I do to like make him stay? And I wish I could go back to that girl and like just look at her and be like, nothing.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything. You don't need to change anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
the way people act and handle your heart is more of a reflection of them. There's nothing you can do to make someone treat you right. There's no, you know, things or that you can say or physical, whatever, that you can give someone to make them want to treat you the way that you are deserving to be treated. And you know, I've been in that mindset myself, and it's so sad. And I feel like it happens to so many girls.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing, like you say, like guys are drawn to like that confidence and that like self-assurance kind of thing. So I think that's one thing too, like this is kind of a different topic, but when you're single, like don't be the kind of person that's just like dying to be in a relationship, like dying for this, because honestly I think that's something too that like some guys will see and they'll take advantage of that because they know like you're desperate for it. But also if you're so confident and all that, you will find that person that won't take advantage of you, won't do that, because they'll see that like you're good on your own, so you're good with or without them kind of thing. So if they leave tomorrow, you're not going to be like so dependent on them where you just like break down because like you got your own thing going on. Yeah, I just feel like go in with that confidence and that self-assurance, and that people are drawn to that too.
I think too, another thing is, like I was saying, when I got into my relationship and things were good and he was treating me right and everything was perfect, I think, you know, looking back, once we were together, my life became so much about him. And I don't know if it was because I was in college and it was right after I had been sick. And so my business was kind of in a backseat in my life anyway. And usually my business is something that takes up a lot of my time and effort. So I don't know if it was that or a combination of the things, or just I really, really cared about him. But it felt like when he started to act different and started to change, I remember being like, that was another reason I wanted to fix it so bad, was it was like, well, if he leaves, then what? You know, like this is, I put myself into this. And I think that happens so often. Like girls get in relationships and you kind of make your identity that relationship. But I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like you're spending, I mean, it's bad to make your identity about that person, but you're spending your time talking to this one person. And like you've been my best friend for years, but you know, both have a significant other. It's not that we don't talk, but it's, you do talk to your friends a little bit less. You're spending, when you're living in the same town, especially in college, you know, you're spending all your time with that guy. You're with them. You're talking to them all the time. So when they start changing, you're kind of like, oh my God, you know, I feel like you can kind of prevent that if you, when you're in a relationship, keep that independence, you know? And I'm sure you can speak to that because you were in a relationship for like, what, 5 years, 6 years? 5 years?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. 4 years. And it was like, kind of like you said, when it got bad, you're like, no, there's no way. Because 4 years is a long time. And like, we started dating in like high school and stuff. So it like, we kind of grew up together, but also like, as you grow and you change, you grow apart. And so it was one of those things where I think like, honestly, I think that relationship was over way before it actually ended kind of thing. Cause we were just different people and like, that's okay. But it was one of those things where like, I think we both knew it was over. We both weren't happy, but it's like, you've put so much like time and effort and emotional effort into this relationship. You're like, I have to save it. Like this can't be for nothing kind of thing. Yeah. I remember back like on Instagram, it was like towards the end of the relationship, I saw like some people were starting to get like engaged and stuff that were like our age or like a year ahead of us. I literally got physically ill when I saw that and thought of the fact that him like,
you're like, if he did this, I would say no.
Physically ill. And guess what? I stayed like 4 or 5 months after that because that makes so much sense to do. But anyway, smart. But it's just like one of those things where you just like, sometimes you got to know like when to let go, when is enough, because you can only be like, well, I know he loves me. I know he loves me so much. But like, I'm one of those people where I think love is a choice. Like, it's not just like we love each other and that's it. Like, it's going to be an everyday choice. Yeah. And so you have to find that person that's going to like fight through those battles for you. But you also got to know like when it's time to just call it quits and let go. If you're working on like fixing a relationship more than you are just like enjoying it, something's wrong. Like, take a
Yeah.
step back and reevaluate.
Especially at our age, you know, like I look back at the relationships that I just was in. I'm like, Alina, you're too damn young to care, like to be saving this person. Like, no, it's not
Yeah.
your freaking job. Like you can't.
Yeah.
You can't change someone
Exactly.
else. And you want a man. You don't want a little kid you're raising, you know, like it's
Yeah.
not my freaking job, not your parent. Like pull it together on
Exactly.
your own, dude. And you know, you can't drag someone along. You don't want to be dragging someone along. And so I think sometimes when we start dating or we start liking someone, we're looking at all their best qualities and we're like, oh my gosh, he's cute. He's so fun. We're like super attracted to each other. That's going to fade. That's going to fade. And if your relationship is based solely on like, you know, physical things or, you know, a lack of emotional maturity, you're going to wake up in 6 months. And I remember my last relationship, the one that I did not want to save and did not really care about. We were sitting at dinner and this was close to the end, but like nothing had been wrong. It was close to the end of the relationship, but we're sitting at dinner and I just remember looking across the table and be like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know what to talk about with this person. And it wasn't anything he did wrong. It was just, we were operating in two different levels of life. And at first it was really fun. And I was all caught up in like, oh my gosh, he's cute and he makes me feel special and he says all the right things and da-da. And he's like, he was a great, great boyfriend. Like he really was. But I remember sitting there and I was just like, we've had the same conversations for like months and I don't even know what else to say to you. And so all the physical stuff and the fun and the excitement is going to fade. You have to look at someone's character. And no one really knows this, but now you're dating one of our guy best friends that we've had for so long. And my guy, he's the very best person ever. And so that's the kind of guy, you know, we always used to joke that he was going to be my backup plan husband, but now I've allowed, you're the one girl that I will allow to ruin it. You're the one girl that can ruin it for me. But that is the kind of person, you know, with integrity and with heart and, you know, that's going to treat you right. Even if those physical things are not, you know, always going to be there. Cause you might wake up like, we're going to get old, you know, and like, what is your relationship based on? It can't just be this like instant attraction and this, like these super high highs and then these lows. And we mix up in our brains excitement and passion for a really toxic person.
Yeah. So that's one thing. It's like, when I see relationships where like there's these people, and I could be wrong, this is just my opinion, and almost all the time I'm right, not gonna lie. But when you see these relationships where like they start out and they're so in love with each other and they're so like this and so that, it dies like so fast and so hard too. And it's like, I think the best relationships are the one where they start out like slow. And that's like people say that friendships, like relationships that start at friendships are the best ones and like the ones that last the longest do the best, because it really is, it starts slow and you get to know each other. And it's not all about the physical attraction and the things you see first. It's what's underneath and what's inside. And that's what makes you like fall in love with that person kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think too, that's kind of hard for me because, well, honestly, one of my ex-boyfriends, we had been friends for years and years. And so, I mean, that was kind of different because at first I was really not attracted to him and it did build over time, which shouldn't have let that happen. But, so, I mean, I kind of understand, but for me, I'm such a romantic with certain things that like, I want to see someone and immediately feel these sparks and fireworks and passion and like, da-da-da. And like, that's in my mind what love is. And I've spent so much time trying to take that, you know, out of what I think about love, because I totally agree with what you said, that love should be this steady and calming feeling. And you shouldn't chase just like these instant butterflies and, you know, all of this excitement, because it's going to die. And so that's something that I really like that you said, because I think, you know, you're right. Love is going to be built on a steady and solid, you know, ground that just feels safe. And real love and a real relationship should not feel like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah. And like, I think too, like how you said, like there's those sparks and like that initial like passion and attraction. That's not like necessarily a bad thing, but you need to look and see if like that's all there is in that relationship. If all it is like you're attracted to those like the physical aspects or the like confusion of it all, like
is he gonna call?
If it turns into a game, it's not okay. The second like any guy, this is like a toxic trait of mine, but the second it turned into like a game, or I felt like it was turning into a game, and it was like, I was like, okay, cool, but like you're gonna play a game, that's sweet, well I'm gonna win. So, and that's not okay. That's not okay, and that's not gonna have like something that's gonna be lasting and something that's gonna benefit you in any way.
Yeah, I love that you said that
Mhm.
because that is so true. And I think too, we do mix that up. And I don't even know if it's just because like in movies and music and all the things in our culture that we've grown up around, that's like what they portray is the bad boy, and not necessarily a bad boy.
Mhm.
I'm not meaning like a I was gonna say skater boy, but I feel like that's not the right word. Like a bad guy, the bad boy. And then there's
Yeah.
the girl that comes along and the one girl he finally loves, and Sex in the City. Like look at Sex in the
Mhm.
City.
Oh my
And
God,
like
yes.
he finally, the one, he's like an idiot, and then he meets this girl and she changes him. And that's what every girl wants, right? Like to change the bad boy. But then
Yeah.
it's like that's movies and that's not real
Mhm.
life. You want a guy that wants to be good on his own, that wants to be a good person and treat people right, and then that falls in love with you. And then you build
Mhm.
a healthy, normal relationship. Not this guy that's a bad boy that you have to play a game with. And is he going to call in? What's he doing? And da da da. Like Jesus, all the hours we spent doing
Yeah.
drive-bys in college. Like we could have been doing much more better things
Right?
than driving by people's apartments. Like seriously, God,
It's ridiculous.
it's crazy. It is so crazy.
But it is like I get it. There's that excitement and that like game do it all. And it's like it's the chase. You love the
Yeah.
chase, but then like, okay, so say you get it, then what?
Then
Like,
what? Do you wake up
yeah.
in a year and like what kind of relationships do you have? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't it
And
like
honestly, that's a relationship built on trust issues too, because you're constantly going to be like questioning what they're doing, who they're with, and that kind of thing, because you were on the other side of that. And like,
yeah,
you hear it all the time from everywhere, but like, you are the rule, you are not the exception kind of thing.
yeah,
So like, if they do it to someone else or they did it to you, obviously it's gonna happen again. Like,
yeah.
yes, people can change. That is a thing. I'm not saying it's not, but more often than not, like they're gonna repeat the same patterns.
Yeah, that is so true. Believe patterns
Mhm.
and not words. Believe,
Yeah.
what someone's doing over and over, just like you were saying before. That is so true. That is a 100% foolproof way not to let
Hmm.
someone use you. If you keep believing, and it's so hard, you guys, like you have to get in a circle of good
Hmm.
friends. You have to get in a
Yes.
circle of good people that can be the eyes for you at this person, because when you put on those love goggles, you're seeing a
Hmm.
completely different person. You're not seeing reality.
Yeah. You make so many excuses for
And
that
oh
person.
my gosh, when I
Hmm.
look back, like I was literally being cheated on completely.
Hmm.
And I knew it for a fact. I
Yeah.
knew it for a fact. And it was like, well, Elena, like, are you going to end this relationship? Well, no, like he said, no, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what he said. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like,
The amount of fights over this guy.
I know, like, it's crazy. It's so crazy. Like, you have to get people around you that are going to like give you that accountability and that are going to be able to tell you. And like, it's not
Hmm.
being mean too. I feel like, having friendships that are going to hold you accountable, it's not out of a place of like harshness or being mean or not wanting you to be happy. Isn't that the biggest BS? Like, well, you just don't want me to be happy. Like, no, I just don't want you to
Yeah.
be
Right.
used. Like, I just don't want you to be used by this
I
person.
know. There's been so many times you've told me like, hey, like this is not okay kind of thing. And I was like, you don't like, I would get mad at you. And like,
Yeah.
I get it, like looking back, but then like anytime I would give you advice, you would get mad at me too sometimes. Cause it's like, you're so blinded by it and you like
Yeah.
really want this to work and you want to fight for it. But when do you stop fighting?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, getting out of that mindset, and then once you're out of it, it's completely different because you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, like I was completely being an idiot. But you have to just give yourself that grace because it is hard. And,
Mm-hmm.
you do fall in love with, maybe it's not completely love because it's not. This is not what
Mm-hmm.
love is. It's not, it's a
No,
lie.
no.
But you do fall for these traps of these people and you really want to fix them and help them and create this relationship that you have in your head. And a lot of times they're not on the same level as you at all. And
Mm-mm.
you're portraying this whole idea in your head, this whole story, this whole scenario, and it's just not what's happening.
Yeah.
But I think you said something that kind of moved into the last part. Wrestling with ending a relationship, or should I have tried more? And so you were talking about a lot of people our age being engaged, and your relationship being so long and ending after so long, and you were
Mm-hmm.
not happy at all,
Mm-hmm.
but you were like, I just want, I want to fight for it. I want to fix it. Yeah. So I really liked that question of what's a reason to break up versus not, and wrestling with, okay, did I give up too soon?
I'm trying to think because there's so many things. First of all, I think it's not a bad idea to even just like write out a little like pros and cons list. Like,
Oh, I'm
what
here
does this
for it.
person?
I do
Yeah,
this.
exactly. Like, what does this person bring to my life and offer me, and what do they detract from, and like
Yeah.
weigh it out and see what's like better or worse. And then one thing I think is we do get caught up in like time, and you're like, I put so much time into this and all that. Honestly, in the end, that means nothing. If someone isn't showing up for you daily and adding to your life and making you feel valued and important, it's done. Like, that's it. And
Yeah.
so we do, like, I got caught up in that, and like, I have no hard feelings for the guy. Like, it's fine, but it's the kind of thing where it's just like, we are not good together. We were not good together. We had grown apart first, and it was this, I think he would say it too. Like, it was the past like few months of that relationship. Like, it was not a relationship. It was just like us fighting for something that we should have let go like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think like with the breakup part, because I think there were questions about like, how do you deal with like the breakup and all that? You have to have a good group of people like around you. And so like I had and like have like the best friends. So when it was over, like I was able to lean on them kind of and just start enjoying my life. And it was like, it was a whole new life going from like being in a relationship for 4 years to being single all of a sudden. Like, that's a huge change, but you just got to have those people to lean on kind of.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And I think too, the list and all of that, that is another really helpful way you can take the emotions out of it. So when you're writing out what someone's bringing to your life versus what they're taking away, you know, those are facts. Those are complete facts. And that just helps you so much to make a decision based off of what is there more of, you know what I mean? Like, what am I really here for? And people can change. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But I just think, you know, sometimes enough's enough, and you kind of have to kind of let that go, let go of that hope of whatever you thought it was going to be, and look at it for like what's really happening right now.
Yeah.
And totally having a solid group of friends and people to kind of pull you through is such a helpful way to kind of deal with that loss. Cause it is hard when you know you're going through a breakup. It's kind of like someone like is dead. You really spent all your time and energy with this person. And then for you, it was years. And I always said when I went through my breakups, I was like, I don't know how you did it because I'm
yeah.
And but they're not dead. They're walking the earth, and they're choosing not to be in your life anymore. And
that makes it so much harder sometimes.
Yeah, it totally does. And I think you kind of have to go through this period, and I always struggled with this until the last kind of couple of breakups, is you cannot talk to them. You can't go from up to being friends the next day. Maybe down the road, not tomorrow, not in a month, no talking.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's one thing too, is like, that's the annoying part, is sometimes in like breakups, like they'll try to reach back out to you. I'm not saying like block a person or anything like that, but if they try to reach out like to you, you are not obligated to respond or anything like that. And so I think the best thing, maybe not like, you don't have to block them, because sometimes that comes wrong with like the wrong message. But I mean, that's what I did. Just put them on mute. It's out of sight, out of mind. And then like all the social media, just put it on mute, because if you see them every day, of course you're going to think about it, and then you're going to think about those good times. But you got to remember there were the bad times and the reason why it ended. And honestly, don't be afraid of being single. When I was single, that was like the most fun I've like ever had. I turned this is my advice. Put that person on mute. Do not like talk to them at all, because out of sight, out of mind for a little bit. And I turned my first like year being single into just like a year of yes. So like I was hanging out with friends all the time. If they wanted to go to dinner, anything like that, if like a guy asked me to go to dinner and I wasn't that interested, like I would say yes anyway, just because like you never know what's going to happen kind of thing. And like, no, I wasn't looking for another boyfriend. I was just enjoying like being single and being on my own. And I made that very clear to the people. I didn't want to like lead anyone on. But yeah, you just got to like make everything, be selfish, make it about you, and just like have your fun, say yes to things you normally wouldn't, and like you'll open up to like so many new things, new people, new experiences, and it's so much fun. Don't be afraid of it, like enjoy it.
I know for a fact I've had ex-boyfriends tell me, like, and especially because I'm on Instagram every single day, like my life, they're like, I had to not block you, but whatever it is, turn notifications off so that they don't see your stories or anything like that. And I think that's so helpful. But I also think on the flip side, you don't want to look at them, but don't be posting things because you think they're going to see it and then checking if they saw it and like whatever.
You're only going to hurt yourself.
Exactly. Like, don't post things. This is your time. Like, when you already had your time where you were giving to them in the relationship, now you're single, now you're on your own, now you get to live for you. Like you were saying, make it your time. And
Mhm.
so anything you post, anything you do, don't be like, oh, I'm going to show them how much fun I'm having and I'm going to wear this and post this because no, like focus on yourself and making yourself
Mhm.
feel good. You put so much time and, effort towards them. Now it's time to give it back to you. And that's what,
Mhm.
there was a question that said, how can you cope in a healthy way after a breakup? And I love that you said that, like, make it about yourself. What is something that you
Mhm.
now have time to do, or something that you've been excited about that you can start doing, or places you can go with your friends, make new memories. And it's hard too if you spend a lot of time physically with the person, like
Mhm.
sleeping over, like doing whatever every day. You have to kind of make a new routine. But like kids, you start, meal prepping, or like just taking a walk in the mornings, like, or, taking a bath at night, new things you can start doing to kind of take up that space. So you're not sitting there like, well, we used to be doing this at this
Yeah.
da da da, you know?
Mhm. I like lived at your apartment after my breakup. Like,
Hey,
and
we were here
anytime,
for it.
yeah, and like anytime I wanted to like text him, I would text you, or I'd text
Yeah.
someone or call someone and just be like,
Yeah.
talk it out over the phone with someone. Like, it's okay to like be in your feels. Obviously you're
Yeah.
going to, like, you
Process
lost
it.
someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you feel nothing, like that's another issue in itself. But like it's okay to be sad over it, but don't like dwell in that and let it take over your life.
Yeah. It said painful breakups and like missing the person. I think the biggest thing I can say
Mhm.
is you're going to want to call and just freaking don't. Like, oh my God,
Don't
you're
do
probably
it.
going to get yourself back into like a 2-month back and forth, and it's going to be more wasted time, more wasted energy, and then more hurt. Rip it off,
Mhm.
let it go. Like, you can reach out maybe like a month or two down the road, and if you really need to, like, hey, how are you? But you don't have a reason to be talking to this person. And your brain is wired in a way that, like, you've been talking to them so much, like, of course you're going to want
Mhm.
to, but you have to kind of cut it off. Like, you have to take
Yeah.
responsibility, call someone else, text somebody that's not them.
Exactly. And this is another thing I think I kind of want to address too, is you got to know that sometimes you're not going to get that closure that maybe you want. So you need to create it for yourself. And
Yeah.
it's like, so in my past relationship, like I didn't get that closure like the way it ended. There were just a bunch of like questions and open ends and all that stuff. And it was like in my mind, I just came to terms with the fact that I'm not going to get those answers. I'm not going to get that closure. And that is my closure, that it's just like, it's done. And
Yeah.
then he did reach back out like 2 months later and he was like, hey, like, can we meet for dinner? And I was like, no, like honestly, no.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I was ready to tell you everything. Like, I'm ready. Like, and I was like, that's great. And that's good for you. But like, I don't need that. And like, I
Yeah.
don't want to go back over this and rehash it. Like, I've moved on. We're good. It's all good. Like, have a good time kind of thing. And like, that's it. You just got to create it for yourself and just know, like, you're not going to get those answers. And even if you like keep reaching out to them and keep asking all that, they might not give it to you. So just like come to
Yeah.
terms with the fact that like it's done, it's over, and move on from that.
Yeah. I think you come to realize too, it's some people are not, able to give you those answers. They're
Mm-hmm.
literally not able to be that person you want them to be. And you
Mm-hmm.
cannot pull it out of them. Nothing you say, if you call them crying, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
how hot you look on your stories. They're not going to be able to apologize to you. They're not going to be able to, come back and give you this closure you're wanting. Your closure is that it didn't work out and they didn't care enough to fix it. And I know that's harsh, and
Mm-hmm.
your friends aren't going to tell you that, because I would never have said that to Taylor, but like, they're not able, it's not happening. You got to move on with your life.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, and sometimes too, if someone gives you an apology later on, like that's great. And yeah, it does feel good to be like, they recognize that what they did to me was wrong kind of thing. But that doesn't mean you need to address it in any way, because like if you've made your peace, there's no like reason to go back and hash back over that at all. Like,
Yeah, I agree with that. And someone said
mm-hmm.
feeling like you cannot keep the good times or think about them. Obviously, when you're in a relationship, you are friends with that person, hopefully. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, it feels like you kind of lost a friendship. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when you lose a friend, you still know you had good times together. And it doesn't have to be this like, oh, I hate them. Like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. Because
Exactly.
yeah, granted, it probably ended badly, maybe, but that doesn't mean the whole relationship was bad. Like, I'm not going to be that friend
Mm-hmm.
that sits here and tells you, those guys that you've broken up with, like, well, he sucked, and so the whole time was bad. Like, no, obviously you have good
No,
times
yeah.
when you date, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's okay to keep those good times, but when you're going through that breakup process, going over all the good times in your head is going to make you forget the reason that this breakup is going on right now, because there were good
Exactly.
times. more than that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, I regret none of the past like relationships or anything that I've had, because honestly, in the end, like I learned so much from that and grew so much from that, because like I was like, people did lie to me and treat me like poorly and all that. But then like I learned from that, and now I'm not as naive and not as trusting of people. And then like it also, I feel like those bad relationships are so beneficial too, because when the right person comes along, it makes you appreciate them like so much more, because you realize like you've seen the other side and what it is to feel like trash. So when these people do like genuinely,
Like trash.
yeah. So like when these people show up for you, like
Yeah.
it
It's like
makes
I
it
was
so much
begging
better.
this guy for a text and I was
Yeah.
begging for that.
And it's like, why did you waste your time on it? But honestly, it's, you can't regret it. You can't be mad at it. And I regret none of it. And I'm still friends with a lot of the guys that like I used to like date. And like I said, I use that very, very loosely, but it's just, you learn something from everything. And so just like take those lessons to heart and use that in the rest of your life as you're like going forward.
Yeah, totally. And like the rest of the questions tie into that, because it was just having confidence after a breakup, moving on and letting yourself love someone new and that treats you right. And I think, you're going to go through breakups and hard times, but like you just said, it's going to help you when the right person comes along. And I think sometimes we're in such a rush to settle down, especially with, we watch all these people in relationships, we watch these people get married and whatever. So we're hurrying. Every date we go on, we're like, well, did I feel sparks? Okay, no, next one. Like we're hurrying, and we're so desperate to fix somebody because we just want to be done. And I think sometimes, by wanting to rush it so quickly, we just feel like, it's hard. We're taking these huge risks to accept someone new or to be hurt again or whatever. But if we just would slow down a little bit and enjoy the process and kind of learn from our mistakes, it's going to make it so much sweeter when you do, find that person.
You can't hold the sins or things of the people before against the next person, because they're a completely different person. It's a completely different story kind of thing.
Not holding the things that have been done to you onto the guy that you're currently dating. And story about this. So with my breakup, and then I started dating somebody new, and I was so, careful about everything. And I paid attention to every little thing, right? And then I finally let my guard down. And I remember you saying to me, you cannot hold him accountable for what he did to you before this, the other guy. Blah, blah. And then in the end, I was completely screwed over once again, completely, like horribly. And that was a huge thing I had to wrestle with. I took a break from dating for a while because I was just so heartbroken, not over the guy, but just over what I was doing to myself. And I felt like something was wrong with me, because I was like, oh my gosh, 2 people in a row, like literally end up being like such idiots and such liars and so insane. It wasn't not a normal breakup, both of them. It was like insane. The people they ended up being were so just horrible. And I was so hard on myself about it. But then I finally realized, where did you meet them?
Yeah.
Where did you meet them? Same place. They came from the same place. They were, they had known each other. That's the same circle. Who are you really investing your time in? And why do you continue investing your time in people like this that are similar? What does it say about how you feel about yourself? How much do you respect yourself if you knew that one person treated you badly and then someone that ran in the same crowd who's more than likely going to end up the same way? It became, I'm telling you, when it happened, I remember I didn't even really cry when we had the breakup because I just didn't really care that much. I was just kind of shocked and upset that it happened to me. But I remember I was like, this is going to be something that I can really take away and like look at myself. That breakup was one of the best things that's happened to me. It made me grow so much as a person, and looking at how much I respected myself and the men that I even gave a chance to have my time.
Right.
It was just such an opportunity for growth. And so I think you cannot, if you're dating one guy and he treats you like crap, and you go meet a completely different guy, you can't just hold that person accountable for no reason. But this circles back to what we started saying. Where are you meeting these people? And if you continue choosing guys that have little flags where you're like, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's good. Stop overlooking them, because it's going to be the same reason it doesn't work out.
And that is the thing. You are the people you hang out with. Like you are a sum of that. So
yeah, thank God
it's like
me.
Yeah, right. So it's like you can't make excuses and be like, oh, but he's different. But he's different. Like if he accepts the behavior of that person and like value, like he's okay with that enough to be that person's friend or whatever, or even in girls, like this doesn't just have to be about guys, this can be about friendships too, like then you should know like that's probably not a person you want to associate with, because if they accept that from that person and they want to be friends with them, like they
Yeah.
probably share a lot of those same like values and stuff in their own life.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think, you can't hold someone, if you've been through a really hard breakup, you don't want to carry that forward because people are going to sense that too. So you might miss out on some really great opportunities with relationships because you're so, harsh and second guessing and whatever. So just really take every breakup and use it as an opportunity to really look at the qualities of the relationship and of the man or girl, whatever, that you were dating, and really ask yourself, okay, what was I attracted to? Where did things go wrong? What did I like about this person? And what do I not want to continue going forward? And that's going to lead you into finding the right person for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And that person will come along, and you just have to like, when that next person comes along, you can't treat it as like, he's the next one. You got to treat it as he is a new one. He is a new person. He is new. And also too, I think like people can change. So don't hold like their previous sins against them. But if you see those like patterns repeating themselves, get out. You got to know it's probably going to happen again. You just got to find that person that really does like value you, value your time, respect you as a person, and isn't going to play those games with you. They're out there.
Yeah.
They're definitely out there. You just got to find them. And sometimes, you will go through hard times to get to it, but that's normal.
Yeah. I think when you are, starting in a new relationship and really just moving on, with your life, it's so important to take account of, the qualities that you've looked for in all those people in the past, and just keep moving forward. And if you start a new relationship and you're realizing really soon you're already making excuses for behaviors, it's a sign to get out. Don't ignore them. Don't be too, overly obsessive, but don't ignore them, because you deserve more than to settle. You're going to settle for so much in your life, and you don't want the person that you're with, to be one of them. You're not going to find this perfect person that checks every single box. You want to find like that friend and that, steady person that you want to build a relationship with. But I think we settle so often because we're just ready to be done, and we're like making excuses, and we're caught up in, oh, but we have such a great time together. And like, no. Like this is you're dating to, either date long-term or dating to marry. I'm dating to marry. Like, I'm not going to want to be in a relationship with someone if I know that I would never have a chance of marrying them. What's the point? So if there's qualities that I'm like, okay, not sure about this, like certain things, if there's red flags, it's just going to be, you have to just be realistic.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with new relationships, just like we said before, don't hold the sins of the person before against this new person, because they are a completely new person. I think too, like the relationship I'm in right now, like it is so like he's the best. I love him. Like we are so happy, and it's so healthy and stuff. And it is that kind of thing where we just do have like that mutual respect for each other. And we did start as friends, which made it like so easy from the beginning. But it was one of those things where like I was so happy just like in my phase, like my stage of life being single and all that. It was literally like when he told me he liked me at first, I was like, I don't know. Like it's nothing against you, but I'm just so happy by myself right now. And I think that's part of the thing too, like that he was like maybe attracted to, is that I was just like so happy and content like on my own. And so like you can't place your value in like your relationships or all that, because in the end, like if they do end, like you can't be left with nothing. Like you gotta bring your own thing to the table. And also like that will prompt that person, I think, to step up more if they know that like you'll be okay, like you are your own person. And it's like they know if they don't act right, they're out. Like they
and
don't have this hold on
you don't want to come to a relationship wanting someone to complete, this half person. You want to come full with your own set, your own goals and your own life and your own all these things, because that's going to make for so much more joy and like love in your relationship versus just expecting someone to come in and fix you. If that's the reason you're even trying to date or look for somebody, that's the wrong reasons. You really need to find yourself, find your joy, find what it is that you're living for, and let that be the base on which you can build a really good relationship, I think.
Yep, I agree.
Well, I think that answers all of the questions that we had. That was so
anything
fun.
else? I know, that was really fun.
I feel like that was like so great. But thank you so much for coming on. I super appreciate it. And it was just so much fun to get to do this.
Love it. I hope you guys got some good advice out of that. Like I said, we are by no means experts, but
we have a little bit going on.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for listening in, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.